now is to actually go to the EnROADS model. And I actually didn't share my screen. I shared the slides and not the screen. So let's share now EnROADS. So I think you should see now the my screen again. Yeah, is this right?
Yeah, it is.
Good. Okay. So this is the EnROADS model, and this is actually what you see when you go to their website. You will see that at the moment it's set on business as usual. So if we don't change anything, you can see here on the side that we are going towards 3.6 degrees at the end of the century in 2100. And obviously we are going steadily towards it in all these years until 2100. So when you look at the temperature, which you can also, when you change certain things here, then you will see that we actually reach some of the critical points around 2040 already, where it goes over 1.5 and 2 degrees kind of. So obviously our aim is not to let it happen this much, so that we kind of manage actually to get this temperature down. So that we need to make changes here. These are all the different changes we can make, that actually the temperature here is coming down overall, but then obviously you can, as of the moment you get it in the future down, it will go down further before as well, and you will see that the graph, it will go down before. So what you can do as a decision, a lot of the high impact solutions we have encountered are integrated here, and a few which we haven't talked much about. So for example, carbon price is included, and we haven't discussed the carbon price yet a lot. Then there will be lots of different things, as like here is the energy supply. And if you make changes here, you always kind of also change what you see here, which is a mixture of how much energy is used from the different sources. And you can see that they actually here are the different labels. So how much is coming from oil, how much is coming from coal, and so on. And this is calculated worldwide. Yeah, so it's for the whole, as EnROADS is generally calculated for the whole world, for putting everything together. And they are also, it's not just a kind of random, let's put a few numbers together. They actually calculated based on the 6 big research centers we have, which are actually analyzing all this data together and makes these predictions, how the climate will develop over this century. And so we have 6 different research centers in the world. They each make their assessment independently from each other, but then they compare data. And then obviously when they realize they are slightly different in something, they're quite often quite the same in their predictions. But if they are slightly different, they look what are the difference between them. And sometimes they adjust once the time has passed by. So for example, you can see that obviously here until 2020, this part has already passed, obviously. And this was, as if there was any mistake, if at all, it was adjusted so that actually if the calculation has been wrong, they adjusted it. But if you do the training, as you can do an 8-hour training with EnROADS, and I found it quite fascinating. I think it's the 7th hour when they do the training, and they compare these 6 different models each other, and they have actually graphs where they kind of put them, you could say, nearly on top of each other, because when you compare them all, they are very much on top of each other. So they are kind of making the same predictions. And so EnROADS is kind of in line with everyone else. But EnROADS is designed in a way that you don't need to be a specialist. So you don't need to have lots of understanding. You don't need to learn mathematical formulas to understand this here, like with the others. This is actually done in a way that you can easily change it as a layperson and understand what impact your solution will have. But if you want to make it more sophisticated, there is a 400-page or over 400-page guide for these things. And you can, for each of these categories, you can make your own adjustments. Yeah, so for example, you could decide to have a subsidy or a tax on coal. You can decide when it would start as a tax or the subsidy. Yeah, so you can make all, and that goes on and on for every of the categories. So you can do all your assumptions and changes as you think it will all happen. So if you want to do it more kind of sophisticated. So you can change a lot in the energy supply. Then you can obviously change transport, and here they have especially focus on energy efficiency, but also electrification of transport. We have here buildings and industry, where you have energy efficiency of buildings and again electrification. Then we have growth here, population and economic growth, which you can change. And then we come to some other areas which we also talked about. So you can, for example, talk about deforestation, which we didn't cover so much. I think it was a bit in the slides, but not very much. On food waste and these kind of things. So you can change things here, which would be methane and other. Then, oops, I want to go into methane. Then we have afforestation. Obviously, this is a lot of people really like it. So they think, let's plant trees. And this is actually assuming if you would, if I put it to the full lever here, if you would plant trees everywhere in the world where you can plant trees, as obviously not in New York and instead of the any of the buildings there, kind of, it's more kind of assuming all the areas where you could do afforestation again. If this would all be covered with forest again, what would happen? And then we have also technological carbon removals, which is kind of where we have technological and also other carbon things. And when you ask them, actually, which I did in the training, so how much have you included the drawdown solutions, you know, the one we talked about, which is, for example, a lot on agriculture and carbon things and so on. They are trying to integrate them. So obviously there are more and more solutions coming out, and they always have, specialists, as by the way, it's done by MIT and Climate Interactive. They have specialists at MIT who can do these formulas in the background. So if a new solution is coming up, they are trying to integrate it, but they're not fully there with all the drawdown solutions. And obviously drawdown is working hard on making them better and better. So there's a whole, if you are interested in comparing drawdown with all these solutions, there's actually a special website on EnROADS. If you go to this website, where you can read up more how drawdown compares to the EnROADS solution, which one they have already integrated. Okay, so this is a whistle tour through it. It is much more, you can explore it much more. I say that's a 400 pages guide. You can also, and I would really recommend, because I think it's really, really great training, and you learn things. I haven't covered much of it, I think, in this training, because it's totally different things they are covering. So I think it would be very good if you want to dig deeper into this topic to also do the full EnROADS training, which is 8 hours. So we are doing it only a little bit, but I think I would encourage you also to, afterwards, if you haven't done it as a kind of activity for today, because obviously it was an optional activity, to maybe do it afterwards and try it out for yourself and try the things which you think are the best solutions and see how much it will change. But we will do it now together first. So I want to encourage you all to put your favorite solution in, and we kind of make a very fast vote. Obviously, we will not count it vote. We won't count all 50 votes you are giving, but every one of you, please put into the chat what is the things, when I change it now here on the screen, which you think will have the biggest impact and will maybe bring us down to 2 degrees or 1.5 degrees if I change it. So each person, only one at the moment. So choose your most favorite solution from this overview here. Okay, so what is coming in? Can we already see a picture for the favorite solution? Rafael, is something which, yeah, you think, oh yeah, let's try this one already?
Yeah, well, we have carbon price.
Yeah, quite a few people go for carbon price. Okay,
I've seen several options. Energy renewables.
Okay, so I do first, Rafael, I do first the carbon price. So you can see how much, if I just would do the carbon price, I replay you the last change. You can see that we have managed to get it quite a bit down with changing the carbon price. And you can also see, I will play it one more time, look on the left-hand side, how it will actually would change the combination of the different energy forms if we would do this. Now you can see that because of the carbon price, the renewables would actually become a much bigger share, and that, for example, coal would have a much lower share. So I will keep this now. I will keep the carbon price as the first one. So what is the next one there? Do you have the feeling, Rafael, a lot of people are choosing this one as their next favorite solution?
Yeah, I'm seeing reduce coal and energy efficiency also.
Okay, and energy efficiency, as reduce coal. I will do this first then. So let's tax it really high, and I will replay it for you. It doesn't make so much a difference anymore because obviously we have introduced the carbon price first, and the carbon price will be very high for coal. So then putting a tax on doesn't really make such a big difference anymore because it is already so expensive, kind of. So if you would do it the other way, or if you would not have done a carbon price, it would look different. So you could try it out for yourself at home. What would happen if you just do the coal and tax it? Okay, and then you said it was the energy efficiency in transport.
Yes, I'm seeing several.
Okay, it increases to the highest amount. Again, we have already the carbon price as the first one. You can make it a different order or not have a carbon price. If we have the carbon price, it changes it by 0.1 if you go for full energy efficiency in transport. Okay, so but we are not down to where we want to be, 1.5 degrees yet. So what are the next options people are putting in?
Well, we have reforestation. Methane appeared. Methane also. Reforestation, yeah. Methane.
Afforestation, yeah? Okay,
yeah,
I put this to the highest amount would bring us to 2.5 degree. Always saying, as we have already done something, but this is approximately how much you get with afforestation, mostly. So it is a good solution, but obviously it doesn't bring it fully down.
Yeah. Methane.
And then methane, okay.
Methane.
So I go for, as obviously you can also combine it with not going always to the highest amount. So I go to the highest amount, highly reduced, and I replay this for you. So yes. We have gone down another 0.4 now.
Yeah.
So what are people now? And you can put in, as everyone can put another choice in if you think, oh yeah, this needs to go down now as well, or go up as in price or something. Please put a second choice in. So how do you want to get to 1.5 degrees now? So we are still not there. We are still on 2.1.
We have a population, technology, energy efficiency. I think we have done already. Yeah.
So what do you think is a popular vote? What do most people vote for at the moment as the next choice?
Well, I think we have a couple of reducing population.
Yeah, reducing population. Okay.
And I think in the first part I missed renewables also.
Okay, good. So I go for population as much as they have in their assumptions made sure it was possible. So you can see we have now gone from 2.1 to 2 degree. And then you said was the next one
renewables, renewables.
Renewable to increase, to subsidize it, I assume, no?
Yeah.
To subsidize it?
Yeah, and we have one that says carbon removal, technological.
Okay.
Technology to reduce, to carbon removal.
Okay, so with a renewable, the change I will just replay it shortly. You see, in this scenario, it doesn't make such a difference anymore because it has been already the carbon price made it a very popular choice. No? So therefore, subsidizing it doesn't make it much more bigger, but and doesn't bring the temperature much more down because it has already had much more bigger share when we did the carbon price. But I will now go for carbon removal.
Yeah.
And go for the highest amount. So you can see that this one actually now has brought us to the goal at the end. They have gone down from 2.0 degrees to 1.4. And I said we should go to 1.5 at least. So you can see that actually this would mean if you would do all these options we have now chosen, we would go still up until 2022, but then we would start to go down. And then you can see that then eventually we would actually go to 1.54 degrees higher temperature. Now, obviously, it would be even better if we, the less we have to go up, I mean, is the better. But I think 1.4 would be already fantastic, and it would be in line with the Paris Agreement and so on if we would achieve it. What I want to highlight is that this was putting everything on the highest amount possible worldwide, and obviously you have to get everyone to agree. So if you try it out yourself, you might want to go for little portions in certain things, because you might think that actually we can't get the highest carbon price possible on everything. We might only get a moderate price on everything. So you might want to play with this scenario and actually try to figure out how much of every solution would you think you need to put in place to actually get this goal that you can go down to 1.4 degrees. Okay, so I think this was actually, there's someone who has actually raised the hand. So if you want to say something now.
Hi, this is George Wachadze. So those solutions, should be ranked how feasible they are. For example, I saw just one comment before, and I completely agree. Almost impossible, seems impossible to reduce the population. What's the method? How you reduce the population? That's not possible. But some other, so I think those solutions should be ranked how feasible they are. Thank you.
Yeah, okay, no, that's a good point. So, I mean, obviously some people, as I have had participants in the past as well, who said, I'm not touching population and I'm not touching economic growth because I don't think we can change these things. So you can try it, as I try it out for yourself, what will happen. I can show you with population what actually, what the assumption is. So you can always go into this area and then kind of look up how they have done it and what they have assumed for these kind of things. And when you then go to the guide they have, I say it's a 400 pages guide, they kind of explain you all these kind of what they thought were the solutions they have put in place and why you can, if you go for the lowest growth, which I have put here, how they think we could achieve the lowest growth if this is the kind of lever you want to choose. So they give the reasoning in the guide, so you can find it all out, or you can actually decide, let's change some of these assumptions because you are in the, you can actually change, for example, and say, I go for, I'm not doing it randomly, but 10.1 billion people. And then this is kind of what I think is the lowest growth we can achieve, yeah? As I have done it randomly, it's not based on any figures I have. So it was just to give you the demonstration that you can change these assumptions if you want to, based on studies you have or other things you have yourself. Okay, is there another question? Otherwise, I would hand over to Jennifer now, who has prepared the scenario, so that Jennifer can still shortly highlight what she thought were the key things she had chosen, how she put it together. Yeah. Okay, then I stop share, and Jennifer, it's over to you to share your scenario.
Sure, thanks, Petra. And just to check, is there another person who's also going to be sharing today?
Someone did volunteer, no? Frank, did you get a confirmation?
I'm sorry. Oh, no, I did not get confirmation.
Okay, then if anybody wants to share your scenario, which you prepared for today, we had someone sending it, but obviously we don't want to put anyone on the spot. If anyone wants to share their prepared scenario, please just put it in the chat now, because we don't want to put anyone on the spot. Okay, but first Jennifer now.
So I'll be encouraging. Please do share. So this is the model, and Petra and I didn't talk, I promise, but I didn't change population and I didn't change economic growth because those in my mind seem very challenging. And so you can see I had to really make adaptations on nearly everything else to get to the 1.5. And so I spent quite a bit of time observing what we just did now, how much you actually need to move things. And so I found that sometimes I didn't actually have to extremely tax something in order to get the impact, that taxing it, at a lower level of tax would achieve the change. And so given that a lot of people in the US don't like taxes, I tried to also adhere to the minimum taxes needed to get to the overall goal. And so this is the result. And it was a little discouraging to see how many policy and interventions would be needed to get to this point. But that's what it is. Anything else, Petra, that would be helpful to comment on?
Yeah, maybe because we get a question in the chat. So how do you actually make it relevant to the local context? I know that EnROADS is used a lot in the US also to engage with the government and things. So what would be your recommendation, Jennifer, to make it localized, to use this for a localized context?
Yeah, well, for me in the US, a lot of decisions are made at the state level and the community level. And so my personal reaction to that would be to share this with people in my town, because we have a sustainability committee and we just chose to have green power for our entire city, so that everyone has a default into this energy generation. So I would start there with having this conversation. But otherwise, I think, getting a training with local legislators and other people like that. And I also, I did take into consideration things like, in the US, we have the ability to plant a lot of trees because we have a lot of space. And so I tried to think about some of those actions from a US-centric perspective, even though it is supposed to be globally.
Yeah, but I think this is a normal approach. I know that people like in Germany, for example, they use it for Baden-Württemberg, for example, which is one of the states in Germany. So it's the one where actually Mercedes-Benz, a lot of people will know Mercedes-Benz, is actually the headquarters of the car, as Mercedes is located. So they kind of use it, for example, to look at their small area, so compared to obviously the US, also it's a tiny area, but they also use this model. And obviously you will then put in what your industries are. Are you heavily depending on coal? Are you already, as for example, for them, they have made already quite a strong move to renewable. So they will actually on the energy supply side say, okay, we have nearly done a lot what we can do here, but they will have other areas where they can make the changes. So I think you need to, I think this tool is very, very good to get this worldwide perspective, but then obviously you need to kind of apply it to your own area and then think about, so what is our energy mix? Are we already contributing our full contribution to this area, or could we actually turn things up on this side? Or could we turn things up on another side? For example, maybe you don't have any deforestation in your country, so you don't think there needs any changes, but maybe there's possibility to do afforestation. So it needs to be localized in this sense. But I think it gives a very, very good overview what we have to achieve worldwide together. And then obviously each of us has to look for their own area of influence, what you can do. But I think it's a very, very good tool to understand what each of us can do and to really work, as I would encourage you, as I know from a lot of people who especially use it in a policy context. So if you work in any way with policymakers, this is a very, very good tool as well.